Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Tonight we travel to the far hush of everything, where time loosens its boots, where distances stop bragging, and where a single star, last not least, decides to close its eyes. Before numbers learned to count themselves brave, there was brightness enough for all the questions. Galaxies braided themselves into lullabies. Dust rehearsed the role of future gardens. Comets wrote cursive on the dark and pretended not to enjoy their own flourishes. Through it all, the stars kept watch. Punctual embers in a cathedral that had forgotten why it was built, only that it loved echo. But echoes grow curious. One evening measured in more kindness than seconds, a small, steady star listened to its own light returning from the walls of space and wondered, what does the dark dream about when it is not borrowing our fires? That question arrived like a chair, humble, necessary, scandalous. The star sat. Only a moment, it told the gulfs. I have shone for a very long time. I would like to listen. The gulfs, who have never been as empty as rumor suggests, brought the star a cup of quiet and introduced themselves by their first names. Pause, patience, and possible. The star sipped and found that silence, properly brewed, tastes like forgiveness learning to spell. A figure emerged from the hush, shawled in night, lamp in hand, the color of breath on a mirror. You know them already, the usher of intervals who keeps the rooms between what insists and what listens. You've come far, said the usher. I stayed, said the star. Everything else traveled. The usher's smile was a map of gentle exits. Then you are ready for Rule 1. Rule 1. Everything may rest. Nothing may hide. The star dimmed, not failure, mercy. Around it, distances exhaled. Shadows adjusted their posture from defense to welcome. The star's core, relieved of performance, heard a sound it had never made room for. The universe breathing in. What is this place? Asked the star, surprised to find its voice sweet instead of hot. The archive of unburned things, said the usher, leading the way along a path paved with slowly. Here we keep what brightness forgot to become. Ideas not shouted into law. Names not asked to carry countries. Mornings that arrived late and were forgiven. They stopped at a well that held no water, only willingness. The star leaned over and saw not its reflection but a shoreline where children built cities out of sand and argument. A tide approached like a grandmother and whispered, "Make room!" The cities bowed and became harbors. The children cheered as if they had invented hospitality. I have seen this before, said the star, from very far away. Distance is a kind of shyness, said the usher. Tonight we will practice nearness. The path widened into a hall roofed by listening. On a long table lay instruments. A bell that rang like gratitude. A spoon that stirred humility until it tasted like soup. A knife that cut pride into bite-sized courage. The usher poured tea that remembered winter and forgave it. Tell me, they said, why do you want to dream? The star studied its hands and found orbits there, wearied but faithful. Because I am tired of being only proof, it said. Because I have lit 1,000,000 thresholds and never crossed one. Because I suspect that understanding is warmer than glory. Then tonight, said the usher, you will learn how to glow from within without needing to be seen. They walked into a garden woven from pauses, the same garden the moon keeps, the same where the sun was taught gentleness, only older here, like a melody that has learned to be quiet between its notes. Moths convened as if to vote on lamps but decided against democracy. Democracy is noisy. The star laughed, surprised that laughter did not cost fuel. At the center of the garden stood a mirror not made of glass. It reflected only what you do not avoid. The star approached and saw an image that startled it. Not brightness, but a small room with two chairs. In one sat a child holding a broken instrument. In the other, an older self with time enough to listen. "What am I looking at?" "Your first dream," said the usher. "You wanted to be a window, not a sun." The star remembered. Before fusion had taught it how to pronounce forever, it had wanted to frame someone else's music and make it visible. "I forgot," it said, and the mirror forgave it by turning into a door. They stepped through into the corridor of otherwise, a passage lined with scenes that had almost happened and were still practicing. On one wall, a king lowering a sword because a poem arrived in time. On another, a scientist writing the equation for kindness and deciding not to publish. Farther on, a planet that had learned to measure wealth in chairs left out for late travelers. The star touched the scenes and found them warm. "You've always been a chorus," said the usher. "A single note sounded long enough becomes a room others can sing in. But I wanted to be a lullaby." "You are," said a new voice, and a silver figure entered the corridor. The moon, lamp in hand, carrying the steadiness of practiced quiet. "Your light travels by habit. Your dream will travel by welcome." "Welcome," repeated the star, tasting the word the way bread tastes the hand that kneaded it. "What do I do?" "Close your eyes," said the moon. "Let the dark be your understudy." The star closed its eyes. The universe did not panic. It leaned closer. The farthest galaxies, those shy cousins who prefer postcards to conversations, stepped nearer on tiptoe. Comets slowed like readers who have found a sentence worth savoring. Tides everywhere learned a softer choreography. In hospitals, monitors found kinder rhythms. In kitchens, kettles decided tea deserved a second steep. Inside the star's own dimness, landscapes assembled. Fields of snow listening in white. A harbor built from abandoned weapons. A river returning keys lost by lovers who had been braver than careful. The star walked those places barefoot and did not burn them. It learned that heat is only one way to be warm. The moon set down the little lamp. Its flame, color of breath on a mirror, did not fight the dark. Taught it manners. "Night is not the opposite of you," the moon said. "Night is your echo." "Then what is an eclipse?" asked the star, because questions multiply when the room is safe. "A rehearsal," said the moon. "For what?" "For sharing the sky." The corridor opened onto a shore made entirely of whispers. Waves wrote short letters and took them back before boasting. The star tried to read and caught fragments. Stay. Return. Change. Keep. The usher listened with their head tilted like someone receiving news from a well-behaved comet. "It is time," they said. "For what?" "To learn the rule written after Rule 1. "There is another?" The moon smiled. "Of course. Rules are lonelier than they pretend." They led the star to a bridge that crossed nothing and connected pause to pause. Beneath it swam dreams like lantern fish, each carrying a small future in its belly. At the middle of the bridge lay a thin braid, one strand dark as rest, one light as permission. "Hold it," said the usher. The star did, and felt the universe take a breath around it. The braid thrummed like a bird choosing trust. "What does it mean?" "That you need not outshine what you love," said the moon. "You may simply belong with it." A bell rang somewhere without hurrying. The garden bowed. The distance stopped, pretending it was indifferent. The star looked up, habit, and saw that looking up had become looking in. A comfort moved through its core, less like fuel, more like forgiveness. "Will the world mind?" the star asked, "if I dream a while longer?" "Worlds," said the usher, "mind many things, but they never mind mercy." The star laid its brightness down like a cloak and took up a smaller lamp, unastonishing, persuasive. It walked back toward the bridge's first step and saw, to its amazement, that stepping had left the universe softer behind it, as if footsteps could be chairs. Somewhere a child fell asleep to the sound of thunderstorms negotiating with roofs. Somewhere a city decided to fine the sun for lateness and then laughed itself wise. Somewhere a mother poured water and called it healing without apology. The star listened until listening became its language. Night turned a page. Dream wrote the next sentence. The bridge behind the star had dissolved into starlight. Only the soft hum of the universe remained, a rhythm too slow to measure, too ancient to end. The usher's lamp dimmed to a pulse, keeping time with the star's breath. "Now," said the usher, "you must hear what the universe dreams when you finally fall silent." The star nodded, its glow reduced to a thought. Every spark it had ever shed hovered nearby like loyal memories. One by one, they drifted into the dark, forming constellations of remembrance, stories made from everything the star had once illuminated. The usher raised a hand, and the air began to shimmer. From that shimmer came a sound, faint at first like distance exhaling. It wasn't a song, not yet. It was the language of gravity, learning to whisper. "This is rule 2, said the usher. "To listen is also to create." The star tilted slightly, its curiosity soft but unyielding. "How can silence make something?" The usher smiled. "Everything that listens becomes the shape of what it hears." And so the star listened. It heard the echo of planets turning, the laughter of ice across comets, the murmuring of time as it folded and refolded its fabric to make room for what might be. Each sound wove itself into a tapestry of colors. Blue for longing, amber for understanding, violet for all the unspoken goodbyes that had learned to love staying unsaid. From those colors rose forms, dreams taking body. The first was a field where gravity knelt to plant seeds of memory. The second, a mountain made of promises kept by accident. The third, a sea whose waves broke not on shorelines but on forgiveness itself. "Are these your dreams?" asked the star. "They are yours," said the usher. "The universe borrows the imaginations of what it has raised." A new figure emerged from the soft horizon, cloaked in dusk, with galaxies woven into its hair. Its eyes were twin spirals of beginnings. "I am continuance," it said, "every moment that chooses to last." The star bowed its light. "Then you must know how all this ends." Continuance smiled. "Endings are only tired beginnings that have learned humility." The usher gestured gently. "Follow them." They walked together through a plain of sleeping constellations. Each constellation breathed slowly, like living beings resting between lifetimes. When the star passed by, they stirred, not to awaken, but to murmur greetings in languages older than sound. You are the one who paused, they said. We have waited for the moment when a light would listen. The star's core trembled, not with heat, but with awe. What did you dream while I was burning? The constellations whispered. We dreamed of being known without being needed. The words sank deep into the star's heart, settling like pollen on patience. They reached a lake of slow silver. Its surface reflected not light, but thought, ripples forming where silence decided to remember. The star leaned close. In the reflection, it saw the galaxies slow dance, but there was something new. A heartbeat beneath it all, vast yet intimate, like the first note of a lullaby that the cosmos had been too shy to sing. What is that sound? The star asked. The universe, said Continuance. It has begun to dream. At those words, the lake shifted. Images rose. A nebula swaddling itself in warmth, planets whispering stories to moons, black holes sighing instead of devouring. Every motion in the cosmos had softened. The usher looked at the star. You see now, when you rested, the universe learned peace. It has taken your stillness as permission. The star watched, speechless. Does that mean I've changed it? No, said the usher. You reminded it. Creation never forgets. It only rushes too loudly to hear itself. The star sat at the edge of the lake, feeling the hum of existence beneath its feet. Every vibration carried a memory. Of suns, of souls, of every small kindness whispered into the void. And in that quiet, the star realized that listening was its new form of shining. That peace could be bright too. The moon's reflection appeared beside it, silver and soft. You're learning, she said. To dream is not to end. It is to teach light how to sleep. The star smiled faintly. Then I will sleep a while longer. And the universe, hearing that promise, turned the page of eternity a little slower, so the dream could continue. The dream of the universe unfolded like a slow tide, one that rose not with water, but with memory. The star drifted through it, weightless, its glow reduced to the pulse of curiosity. All around, constellations floated like sleeping thoughts, their light dimmed to the color of remembering. Galaxies breathed, expanding and contracting as if sighing through ages. The cosmos was no longer a machine of motion. It had become a mind, and that mind was dreaming. The star drifted beside the usher and Continuance, who no longer walked but glided upon silence. The air, if it could be called air, shimmered with traces of language that were not spoken, only felt. What is this? Asked the star. This, said the usher, is the moment when imagination begins to believe itself real. Continuance added, every dream that ever existed was born here, the place between thought and form. The star turned its gaze inward and saw an ocean forming beneath its ribs, made of time, but flowing backward. Through that current swam shapes of things not yet born. New worlds humming with trust, suns that burned with patience instead of pride, and beings made of both question and grace. They are dreaming of me, said the star. No, whispered Continuance. They are dreaming through you. The universe around them began to hum. Not sound, not light, but intention. The hum grew into a tone so vast it filled the spaces between atoms and gods alike. From that tone emerged a presence, neither male nor female, neither distant nor near. It was the echo of origin, the first heartbeat the universe ever made, returning home to see what had become of it. The echo spoke in warmth that shaped itself into words. "You are my last whisper," it said. "Before I sleep again, I wanted to see how love has aged." The star trembled, unsure if it should kneel or listen. "You are the beginning? I am what the beginning still dreams of," said the echo. "Every end is a rehearsal for remembering." Light and dark folded together, forming patterns across the star's vision, spirals of ancient truths made gentle enough to touch. The echo reached toward the star, not with a hand, but with recognition. "Do you remember the first time you shone?" it asked. The star nodded. "I was afraid of being forgotten. And now I am afraid of forgetting." The echo smiled, a galaxy curling at the edges. "Then you have learned the nature of infinity. It is not endlessness, but the refusal to stop listening." The dream deepened. Mountains of starlight rose and fell like the breath of creation itself. The star saw entire histories unfold in the blink of a sigh, civilizations rising and fading like gentle tides, yet leaving warmth instead of ruin. Continuance whispered, "Every thought, every kindness, every soft grief becomes a constellation in here." The universe wears empathy as its crown. The star's glow flickered, not from weakness but from understanding. "I used to think burning was my purpose," it said, "but now I see warmth was." They reached the heart of the dream, a vast plain of silver mist that pulsed like music without rhythm. At its center floated a single drop of light, trembling, eternal. The echo gestured toward it. "This is the first dream, the one that taught reality how to imagine." The star approached slowly. "What happens if I touch it?" "Then you will know," said the usher, "how creation forgives itself." The star reached out. The drop of light merged into its being, not as fire, but as memory returning home. Instantly, the star saw everything it had ever illuminated, and everything it never had the chance to. Every overlooked kindness, every forgotten song, every smile lost to distance. They were all here, waiting, alive, grateful to have been seen at last. The echo's voice softened. "When the last light learns to rest, the universe finally hears the dream it has been singing to itself since the first breath." The star closed its eyes, and for the first time, the cosmos itself blinked. The pulse of time slowed. Every planet, every atom, every sleeping heart felt the same hush, a moment of pure remembering. And in that stillness, the star whispered, "I forgive myself for being light." The universe answered, "And I forgive myself for being endless." The dream folded into itself like a sigh after laughter. Continuance laid a hand of dusk upon the star's shoulder. "Rest now," they said. "The universe will hold the next page for you." The star exhaled, and that breath became new constellations, ones shaped not by fire, but by tenderness. The cosmos slept a little deeper, and for the first time eternity dreamed with a smile. The first dream opened like a memory that had been waiting for someone brave enough to remember it. The star stepped through the veil, and time unfolded, not as a line, but as a circle breathing in its own rhythm. Everywhere was light, but not the kind that blinded. It was soft, like dust illuminated by forgiveness. It carried the scent of beginnings, quiet, unsure, impossibly kind. The usher and continuance remained behind, their figures dimming at the edge of the threshold. "This is your dream now," said the usher. "Do not hurry. Even eternity takes small steps here." The star looked around. "It feels like childhood." "It is," whispered continuance. "The universe has only ever been one child, learning to be gentle with itself." The air shimmered, and out of it came laughter. Not sharp or loud, but round, like the sound of hope when it still believes in itself. From that laughter formed a figure, small, translucent, glowing as if built from patience. "I am the child of silence," it said, without moving its lips. "I was the first thought the universe ever had." The star knelt instinctively, its light dimming into respect. What did the universe think of when it first dreamed? The child smiled. It thought of warmth, and then it thought of someone to give it to. The words hung in the air like constellations still being drawn. The star felt something within itself tremble, not from fear, but recognition. "I was born from that thought," it whispered. The child nodded. "Every light was. Every kindness too. You are all small rehearsals of the same promise." They walked together through the first dream. It was not space, not yet, but a garden of possibility. Every step they took grew new forms behind them. Oceans practicing how to breathe, mountains dreaming of names, clouds wondering whether to rain or simply float. The child turned toward the star. "Everything you see here was once only sound. Creation began as humming. When silence grew lonely, it began to sing." The star smiled faintly. "I used to think silence was absence." "It never was," said the child. "It was always the invitation." They stopped beside a river that flowed upward, carrying whispers instead of water. The river murmured the memories of all the things that had not yet happened but wanted to. The star leaned close and heard voices, gentle, endless, full of hope. "One day, a world will forgive itself. One day, light will learn to sleep. One day, everything will be soft enough to hold." The star's glow flickered. "They're praying." The child shook its head. "No, they're remembering." A light wind stirred the horizon, and from it came shadows, not dark, but calm. Each shadow carried a small lantern filled with dreams that had not yet found bodies. The star reached out to one of them. Inside the lantern was a vision, a world of beings made of starlight, their eyes filled with memory and mercy. They were tending to small fires, not to worship them, but to keep them company. "They are your descendants," said the child, "not by lineage, but by lesson." The star watched them and felt something vast but tender, an ache that was not pain, but purpose. "I have always burned for them," it said, "and yet, I never knew what they needed." "They needed you to rest," said the child. "When you stopped trying to prove your light, you taught them how to dream." The landscape shifted again. The garden turned to a vast plain of mist, where echoes of every birth and every goodbye gathered like gentle waves. The child sat down and motioned for the star to do the same. "Every universe must one day sleep," the child said. "When it does, we do not vanish, we become lullabies." The star tilted its head. "Lullabies?" "Yes," said the child. "Songs that creation sings back to itself to remember that it was once kind." The star's core pulsed softly, like a heartbeat learning rhythm again. I think I understand. I thought my fire was my song. It was only your voice, said the child. Your song begins now. And then the silence returned, not empty, but filled with listening. The star closed its eyes and began to hum, quietly at first. Its sound traveled through the mists, across dreams, into places that had never existed until that moment. From that hum, new stars stirred in their sleep. Worlds turned over in comfort. Time slowed to watch, and the universe, the great dreamer, smiled in its sleep. The child of silence faded, its laughter echoing softly through eternity. Remember, it whispered, every light is a lullaby waiting to be sung. The star opened its eyes. The first dream had folded around it gently. There was no separation now between the dreamer and the dream. And far in the distance, the moon's reflection shimmered once more, as if to say, even the end of a dream can be beautiful. The dream began to tremble not with fear, but with the first thought of waking. It was a soft vibration that spread through every ripple of light, every sleeping constellation. Somewhere beyond the silence, the universe exhaled. The star felt it deep within its core, the gentle tug of awareness, like being called by name across eternity. It had rested long enough for the cosmos to find its rhythm again. Now the dream wanted to open its eyes, but awakening was not departure. It was remembering. The star rose from the silver mist of the first dream. The child of silence was gone, but its laughter still hung in the air like starlight that refused to fade. Around the star, echoes of what once was, mountains of memory, rivers of patience, clouds made of every unspoken kindness, shimmered with a soft farewell. You are ready, said a voice. The star turned. It was the echo of origin, appearing not as form, but as resonance, a light that shaped itself to every thought the star had ever dared to feel. Where must I go? Asked the star. Nowhere, said the echo. You are already there. The words rang like bells made of wind. You have walked through the universe's dream, the echo continued. Now the dream must learn to walk through you. The star blinked, and in that blink galaxies moved. Whole realities shifted like soft curtains caught in the breath of creation. Every motion, every pulse of gravity now followed the rhythm of its quiet heart. Continuance appeared beside it once more, her eyes carrying the twilight of all that had learned to last. Do you feel it? She asked. Yes, said the star. It's as if everything breathes with me. That is the harmony you left behind, said Continuance. When you rested, the universe began to hum in your absence. Now you are hearing that song returned. The star listened, and indeed, beneath the hum of existence, it could hear the dream's soft heartbeat echoing in time with its own. They were no longer two. Does this mean I've awakened? The star asked. The echo smiled within the air. No, it means the dream has. The star paused, unsure of how to feel. But if the dream wakes, will it not end? Continuance touched the star's shoulder, her fingers made of dusk and meaning. Dreams do not end, she whispered. They change their storyteller. At those words, the star looked down and realized it was glowing brighter, not from burning, but from remembering. Every color it had ever shed, every warmth it had ever given, was returning, gathering, swirling, singing. The light no longer came from fire, It came from belonging. Far across the cosmic horizon, billions of suns shimmered. Some blinked in unison, as if startled by an unseen music. The pulse grew, slow, patient, perfect. It was the first heartbeat the universe had ever shared with itself. The star closed its eyes and felt it. A chorus of warmth spread through the void, connecting everything that had ever dared to shine. "This is the dream's awakening," said the echo. "When you slept, creation found its peace. Now it rises to thank you." The star could only listen, and in that listening, it learned what creation had always wanted to say. "We are not the light," whispered the galaxies. "We are the reflection of how softly it once loved." The star drifted upward, or perhaps inward, toward a point where distance no longer meant anything. The constellations bowed as it passed, their shapes shifting into symbols the mind could almost remember. A cradle, an open hand, a candle flickering but unafraid. The usher reappeared, their lantern dim yet eternal. "Your light has changed," they said. The star smiled faintly. "It no longer burns." "That is the point," said the usher. "Fire was only the beginning. Warmth is what remains." They looked together across the sea of creation, where even darkness had softened into calm. The echo spoke once more. "Every dream must end in silence, not to vanish, but to be heard. You are that silence now. You are the space where new dreams will begin." The star bowed its light, a gesture of gratitude older than sound. "Then I will remain here," it said, "not as a sun, not as a memory, but as the place where the next voice can rise." And with that, the star let go of itself, not fading, but unfolding, until it became a horizon without edge. The universe paused, awed by the tenderness of its own stillness. Then it whispered, softly, reverently, as the dream turned toward dawn, "You were never the last star. You were the first listener." There came a hush that even time dared not disturb. The last star stood upon the horizon of existence, its glow soft as the breath of a dream that no longer feared awakening. Every echo it had ever known, the usher's wisdom, continuance's patience, the laughter of the child of silence, had folded back into its heart like petals closing at dusk. The universe was still, not empty, not finished, but listening. The star gazed outward, though there was no longer an out. Distance had become memory. Light had become feeling. The boundaries between dream and reality dissolved, until the two words meant the same thing: being. "I can feel them," the star whispered. "Every world, every spark I've ever touched." "They have not gone," said the echo of origin, its voice now woven into the wind itself. "They have returned. Each one carries your warmth, not as light, but as quiet courage." The star smiled faintly. "Then nothing is lost." "Nothing ever was," replied the echo. "It only changed its way of staying." Across the infinite calm, galaxies began to hum again, but their voices were different now, softer, slower, full of gratitude. They no longer sang to the heavens. They sang to the silence that had taught them meaning. The star closed its eyes. Its light rippled outward, not as flame, but as a lullaby, gentle waves of remembrance moving through the fabric of creation. Every note carried the same message: rest and let the dream continue. From that sound, the universe began to shimmer, Nebulae curled inward, embracing themselves. Worlds turned slower, savoring the rhythm of their own orbit. Black holes released the faintest sighs of relief, no longer devouring, but cradling what they held. Continuance's voice drifted through the hush. You see, even endings can be tender. The star replied, then the end is not darkness. No, whispered Continuance. The end is trust. A faint figure appeared on the horizon. The child of silence, holding a small lantern that glowed like the first dawn ever imagined. Will you sleep? It asked. I will, said the star, but I do not think I will stop shining. The child smiled. That is what dreams are. Light pretending to sleep. The star laughed softly, its tone a vibration that made galaxies tremble like gentle bells. Then the universe will dream forever. That was always the plan, said the child. The usher appeared one final time, lantern dim but steady. You have taught creation its final lesson, they said. That silence is not the absence of sound. It is the space where love remembers itself. The star bowed. Then I am content. It turned toward the horizon, where the edge of everything glowed with the faint blush of beginnings. There was no boundary, only a smooth curve of eternity looping back into itself. The star stepped forward, and as it did, its form began to dissolve into warmth. The last of its light stretched across infinity, painting every corner of existence with calm. Where it vanished, a single pulse remained. Not a flare, not a cry, but a heartbeat. The heartbeat of the dream. The universe exhaled once more, and in that breath, new stars flickered to life. Each one carried a trace of that final warmth, a memory, a promise, a quiet song. Somewhere, perhaps everywhere, a whisper traveled through the vastness. There are no last stars, only dreams waiting to remember themselves. And so the light faded not into night, but into peace. The cosmos rested, the silence deepened, and through that silence came a voice, soft, eternal, filled with gratitude. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.